conductor of the train. It's your boy DJ SJ614, and we are
the New York Dose.
And on today's episode, we have with us
Jaiquan Surge
and
El Monaco.
So we are going to dive into the subway, okay? Now the segments in this section correlate with a few of the train lines we have here in the New York City MTA subway system. Finally addressing the dose of the day. First, we try to recall how things involving the topic were handled in the past. Next, we analyze how it's going down today, and then we ride the rest of the subway before debriefing at last and figuring out possible solutions on how to make things better, either in our personal lives or within the world. So the dose of today is wound mates and toxic relationships. WOUND, that is, okay? And our first segment is recall. So I just want to ask, in the past, did we have any language to communicate what a wound mate was or might have been?
No, I'm just learning about it now.
Right, but like, there's so you know, we have the language for it now, but how might we have described a person of such nature before? Like, what do you think that language might have been like before today?
Maybe like just, you know, classic curse words.
Okay. You fucking assholes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about you guys? What do you think?
Okay, I've done some research on the subject, and there's a man named Jeff Brown. I believe he coined the term wound mates. It has to be a decade or a little bit over a decade ago. He has a book about it. Let me see if I have the title of the book here. An Uncommon Bond. That's the name of Jeff Brown's book, and so he really dives into matters of the heart and articulating the difference between a wound mate and a soulmate, but it's definitely been over a decade ago when he wrote about it. So I think the term came into my life when it was supposed to, and I had never really experienced a wound mate situation up until about three years ago. So I didn't need any reason for the language until recently.
Right, that makes sense. Okay, what about you?
Brother?
A woman, I honestly have never heard the term before.
Right. But if we can, for right now, just think about it as like the opposite of a soulmate. Like, was there any type of word before that we ever heard, like growing up, that might have described someone of that nature besides like the devil or
A
toxic?
toxic.
I don't even know if like the word toxic was out back
toxic
then.
wasn't.
I think that's
really
also new.
true.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what other words did we describe these type of
As a
people.
wound mate.
Well, I think also that there's got to be a distinction between wound mate and soul mate, in that
Right.
they're not opposites, but that a wound mate is a stunted soulmate, or that they're unwilling to grow. So it's not like these people are evil, and it's not like these people have malintent, but more so that they are not ready to grow with you.
Right.
So then they might have just remained under the term, oh, you know, like this is my soulmate, this is my lover.
Yeah.
It's just that, you know,
confusing.
he's just like this, like that kind of thing.
Exactly. It's confusing. So I think what people really do is they just settle for wound mates as opposed to actually doing the soul searching and the growth that they need to do to be brave enough to find a soul match. I don't really like soul mate, but I like soul match because I think that there are a lot of people who can match your soul.
I love that. All right, so we can all agree that the term for a wound mate back then might have just been an actual soulmate. There was no difference. Yeah. All right, great.
Ooh.
That's very interesting to start off our little topic with. Yeah. So getting into the next segment, which is analyze, I want to know, what is a wound mate?
Somebody.
You can take it away, Al.
So the way when I first saw the term, it was on a post, and it was very simple, and it said, don't confuse a wound mate with a soul mate. And I thought, oh wow, that's really interesting, because I always thought of the person that I consider my wound mate to be my soulmate. And so a wound mate, the way that I like to define it, is that somebody who pretty much is your match in wounds, like experience similar childhood trauma, experience similar toxic relationships, or experience something that has really scarred their heart similar to yours. And so you two bond incredibly fast over that, and you think, wow, this person understands me, and wow, this person is probably gonna help me heal, and I'm opening up to this person for the first time, and they're opening up to me for the first time, and then you realize quite quickly after that not only is that maybe the only thing you have in common, but it's the only thing that person cares about is your trauma and your wound. Doesn't want to grow, doesn't want to flourish in a relationship with you. Yeah, and they want to reflect on it, and they choose to play the victim because they're not ready to move on from that trauma. But they were probably so happy, well, definitely happy to find somebody else who also had that trauma. But little do they know that we are not like them. We don't want to play victim all the time, and we also don't like to live in that trauma all the time. It's not healthy. But that's what these people are. That's what wound mates are. It's not healthy. It's not mature, and it's not growing or going anywhere.
Absolutely. And just because I know people sometimes just direct sentences, just to sum up everything that Al exactly just said. Hey cousin, as I just looked up, Healing Heart Power said that a wound mate is maybe a soulmate who is not ready, willing, or able to do the essential soul work needed to grow, both for oneself and in a relationship.
That's deep.
So
that's deep.
Exactly what I was talking about.
Wait, that's crazy. So it's it's still
someone
that's connected to you, even though they're wounded. I mean, they're connected through your traumas, but is that still as valid as being connected romantically only?
I think so, because sometimes it's through our traumas and through those windows of pain that our lovers are able to climb through and swoop us up. And we may think that those people are soulmates doing that, but I think because they came through that window during a period of trauma, they tend to also cause trauma while they're with us.
But what about when a person enters your life and you honestly are not actually experiencing any trauma? You're actually good. It just so happens that I think that is also a case, but think of my case, I met someone who became my roommate when I was good, and they turned it into bad. So it was kind of the opposite for me. You know what I'm saying? Where some people on that spectrum, they start off already in a difficult place. They meet somebody that takes advantage a little bit of the situation and then makes them probably a little bit better or even worse.
Well, I don't think that it's impossible for a roommate to come through during a positive period. I think that it's just more common for them to come through traumatic periods.
It's easier because you're more vulnerable.
Exactly,
so
it's just easier.
Slide through it felt a little bit of the same type of hurt. Okay, you're attached to me now. Exactly.
So what do we think the difference between a roommate and a soulmate is, given these examples in our thoughts?
I think your soulmate is your happily ever after. I think that's the storyline where death do us part. We're gonna go through this. We're gonna have our ups and downs. A roommate, I feel, is a seasonal participant. Where they're I just feel like their job is to
come in, fuck shit up, and leave.
And even if not, their job honestly is to teach. And they don't know that that's what they're doing. But as far as for who you are, your being, that is just the mission that they have to play. And it's so sad that we want to change these people into our soulmates so badly because we see the potential.
Yeah.
But I think that's the huge difference. One is seasonal, and one should be continuous.
Anyone else have anything different?
I think he just said it perfectly. I feel like that's the best way to say it. The seasonal and soulmates is if you're my soulmate, there's no way you're leaving from me. I feel that way too about a soulmate.
Okay. Allie, anything?
I would just say, like I said before, I don't really believe, like, a soulmate, I don't think that there's just one, and I don't think that that's necessarily romantic. I like people that match your soul and also match where you want to go. So if you want to grow, or or somebody who's patient enough to let you figure it out for yourself. So like I definitely consider Derek to be a soul match, like somebody who has gone through a lot of shit with me, also let me like not talk to him for 3 months because I need to figure things out, and then like lets me come back. He's definitely a teacher to me, and I feel like a lot of my relationships are that way. And then when you meet somebody who falls into who you want to also be a soul match but falls into the wound mate category, I think it is definitely a lesson. I think it is heartbreaking and devastating, but it's not, it's hard to put them into one category. Like, I think it's really easy to write them off and say, oh, he was a fuckboy. Oh, like he was a psycho. Mm-hmm. And it's not that, it's so much more than that. And there's a lot of potential in these people that we see, mm-hmm. but it is not our job to fix these people. It is also not our job to tell these people to get their act together. It's not our job to, be patient with them, because if they're not going to move, or if they're moving but it's at their own pace, you don't have to stick around for that. And it is a lesson, and it's a heartbreaking time, and it is a heartbreaking lesson, but all experiences are for your own growth and your own healing. So I think that a wound mate has all of the potential in the world, and it is out of love, and it's not different than just writing them off, but I think soul matches come in all shapes and forms and in all different types of relationships, and I think that those are the teachers. Those are the people that help you grow the most.
Yeah,
I love that, and I agree with Al.
You better preach your mind.
Yes, I agree with Al on a lot of that stuff. Me personally, I think a difference in my situation is now, brother, you were saying something interesting about the fact that that these people are temporary, right? Like that's the big difference for you between like a womb mate and a soulmate. For me, I have had the pleasure of encountering 3, I think like romantic soulmates in my life.
But your life is not over yet.
Well, that's very true, so far I should say.
Yeah.
But I also, just like Al said, I believe that there's more than one. And I believe that some people are lucky enough to find that one. Many of them, and some people unfortunately don't ever find one, But
right.
To that regard, all of the ones that have left my life, I don't think of them as leaving in a negative way. Like, I still keep in contact with all 3 of them,
Yeah.
So, and that doesn't...
I'm big on that.
Yeah, and that doesn't make them my wound mate. I still consider them soulmates, even though they have exited my sphere. But I think it's about like the way that these people exit, So I believe that a soulmate can come and definitely still go, and that you don't have to stick with them forever. Mm-hmm. But it's just interesting, the differences in what we consider to be soulmates in our lives. I wanted to ask, are these always 2 different entities, like a womb mate and a soulmate? Like, are they always 2 different people, or can one shift into the other position? But I think we've already answered that. I think that we've discovered that a wound mate actually starts off as a soulmate a lot of the time, and then evolves into that, that wounded counterpart. So we can ride over that. I want to ask each and every one of us, can you recall a wound mate or toxic relationship? What were some of the factors that made it toxic for you?
Ooh.
So, well, let's start with you, Addie. Can you recall?
You want to know.
Ooh.
But you won't know because you have to listen to the rest of the minute. So.
That's right.
That's for our life.
Bye life.
Yes.
Yeah, so Addie, also, can you recall a wound mate or toxic relationship that you've had?
Yes, I can.
Okay, and what were some of the factors that made it toxic for you?
Repeated cycles, repeated unhealthy cycles, a lot of insecurities I noticed within myself and within my partner. And then those insecurities kept on repeating and not being dealt with, and always dealt with in a very unhealthy way.
So your realization was the fact that this person was bringing up something in you that you didn't like, that was kind of like negative?
Yeah, and definitely it showed like how deep some of my insecurities can be too.
Okay, so for you recognizing that it was toxic was realizing that this person was bringing up ugly things within yourself.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
love
sure.
it. What about you, brother? The question is, can you recall a roommate or toxic relationship?
Yes.
Honey, you have to talk. It's
This is for the we're on TV right now.
It's like radio but cooler.
He's on our live.
Yes.
Okay, we're all thinking a little bit.
We're ready. You know, can I recall
A roommate or toxic relationship?
Yes, I can actually.
And what were some of the factors that made it toxic for you?
Myself. I've had a great, almost a great year, almost, of where I haven't. I've had really a great year where I've realized that a lot of things from my past with that past relationship was my fault. Yeah, we can blame the other party member and say, oh, they did this, they did that, but you have to see what you allowed. And I realized I saw so many colors, I heard so many friends and everyone's opinion on this particular person. And I saw it, I knew it, you know, but to make myself just say, you know what, let me move on, that was the hardest part. So it became very toxic when I continuously allowed myself to deal with the situations that wasn't making me comfortable, was causing me to become very stressed, you know, and even things that were worse, you know what I'm saying? But that's when it became toxic.
So I'm seeing a theme here. So again, for you, the factor that made you realize that it was toxic was it waking up something ugly within yourself that you didn't like.
Absolutely.
Okay, very interesting. And what about you, Al?
What makes it? What?
So can you recall a roommate or toxic relationship? And what were some?
Paying attention here.
Or else I wouldn't be here.
And what were some of the factors that made it toxic for you?
I think in order to talk about like what made it toxic would you'd also have to talk about what made it wonderful.
Yes, that is coming up.
Oh, okay, great. Because it wasn't all bad.
Right. No, same.
But the bad was terrible. I think a lot of the toxicity came from his own demons. So he lied. He's like a professional liar for sure. And he's a clinical narcissist, which I had to look up because I had to make sure. But his narcissism, he lied a lot. His age, I'm gonna just put his age in there. I agree. Yeah, thank you. And I think what made it toxic, I don't know. I didn't know any better. I'd never experienced anything like that relationship before, so I was getting a lot of things thrown at me. I was experiencing a lot. Yeah. And it was also, that relationship also came into my life when I have chronic health problems, and he was with me right when they started. So I think a lot of dependency made it toxic, and I needed to depend on him to take care of me at points. And in turn, I wanted to take care of him all the time. And I think that's just who I am. I think that's how John is too. And John knows that. John is just wants to take care of people. So that's what these people do. They latch onto you when they find out that you're just so generous and so giving. Even when you have your own shit to deal with, serious shit. I mean, lots of hospital visits. He went with me to the hospital, to every doctor. And in turn, he treated me so poorly. And
which is crazy because you could get lost in that sauce of they came with me to all these appointments and all this.
Yes.
You get lost in that, no,
absolutely.
And that's
absolutely.
if you fall into that hole, forgetting everything else.
Yeah.
it's kind of
toxic. And I agree with you too, Eddie. There's like a cycle. There was like a cycle, like of ghosting. I'd never experienced ghosting before until this, and I'm like, I can't believe it. I can't believe this person isn't talking to me anymore because we connected so strongly. I remember like on our first date, he wanted to know everything about me, like wanted to know about my childhood trauma. He wanted to tell me about his too, which was crazy, and he would tell me a lot of things that he had never told anyone before. So it's very confusing. It's a lot of mind games of like, wow, I'm so special, but he treats me like shit.
Yeah.
So
when niggas used to, my older used to bring me food from the union. And I didn't have to make that trip across campus.
You're so
I was
sweet.
like, you love me for real. You really do.
Right, like I'm
and
so
then the fight will be over, and then there will be another fight the following week. You know?
Exactly.
So you recognize, so for you,
Yeah.
yours was more of like an outward thing, more of like a circumstantial thing. So you realize a lot of things within your relationship with him that kind of seems screwy from his end, as opposed to Addie and John, where that person woke up things within themselves. You just started seeing ugly things within that person.
I mean, don't get me wrong, because he had some ugly too.
No, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But I feel like you communicated that.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing that I felt like that I
made it toxic.
I had to realize it after though.
Right.
Because when I was in it, I just felt like no, like pointing the finger until I had to really realize it.
Well, I think too, what I learned, what was really good about when this happening when it happened, was that I had a really good support system in Derek and in John and our friend Amira and our friend Julissa, that what I learned from Derek a lot, like, to help me get through that relationship, was that Derek likes to cover his bases. So he wants to make sure that he is blameless. But yes, baby.
Yes.
And it took me a long time to really figure that out, because I'm somebody who likes to take the blame for everything. I like to make I want to make sure that nobody feels bad, so I will always take the blame. But I can honestly say I did my best. I can honestly say I did everything I could do, and it is not on me.
That's right.
It's just not on me.
Yeah.
And I feel so good in that. And I love how we ended it too. It was so simple how I walked away, and I love that. It was so easy to walk away.
I'm glad you had that. I didn't have that type of ending.
It was tough for you, John.
Mine was tough.
Yeah, and
mine ended real bad.
We'll definitely we can get into that. Addie?
Right, yeah, so I wanted to know how long it took you to be aware that you were in a toxic relationship. Like, approximately, if you had to give a little number. It took me 4.5 years.
How long?
I was in and out. 4.5 years.
Honestly,
Oh my God.
Honestly, it took me.
It's okay.
It took me one day.
What? One day?
It took me one day, and I'm gonna be real, because I said I was gonna come here, and I said I was gonna be upfront and honest.
Yeah.
I knew. And that's one thing about being, I feel like, a Scorpio. We have this type of intuition where we just know what we know, and I have to follow my instincts, and now because I've been doing that, life has definitely been better. But when I first met this individual, I knew of him already. I already knew of him.
Oh, so you just did this to yourself?
I did it. No, but you want to know what it is? You ever have it where you don't know everything? You see, and that's what social media is very funny. Social media, we see nothing but just, camouflaged individuals, just trying to, live this type of life that's really not true. When you literally thinking that, people out here living the glitz and glamours, but really niggas is homeless. You know what I'm saying? Like, people really ain't got nothing, and they just stunting. And I was looking at nothing but an image of what I thought was. And I was so infatuated with the image that I allowed myself to just go for it. I was like, I'm gonna just go for it because it's hot, it looks good, It's everything. That's why they say everything that glitters is not gold.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? For real. So I was at a place where I was like, yo, like, he bad. I'm a hop on this. I'm gonna see what it gets. So when it came to my house, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It really, and you see how
really good.
Like I was into it. I was like, oh my goodness, like even in person, I'm getting everything out of this individual. I'm like, damn. So yeah, I started, dealing with this particular person, and I started enjoying myself with it.
But initially you said that it took you one day.
It took me one day.
To know.
Once I saw after, like literally, because I knew I was in it for the wrong reason. Mm-hmm. So by the time the next day came and I was already sprung, mm-hmm. I was like, fuck.
Okay.
You ever had that feeling like when you know that you just got sucked in, and I was like, this is not gonna go well.
Right. Now my follow-up to that is how long did you stay in that toxic relationship after realizing?
Oh, so I guess that, yeah, because I guess I take my 4.5 years back of being aware.
Right.
I think I was aware like through the third year.
Okay.
But I stayed in it
for one more.
For 1.5 more.
Okay.
It was 6 years. 6 years.
So after that one day, you decided to stay.
After that one day of dealing with this person, knowing that this could be fucked up. But see, this is where we get back to the womb mate and the soulmate.
So hold on, I just want to, because I had to calculate.
Okay.
So after that one day, you decided to stick around for 2,189 more days following that one day.
This is a judgment-free zone.
You want to know something?
This is no judgment.
No, it's no judgment. It's okay. It's okay.
I just need for everyone to soak in.
Absolutely.
What we do to ourselves.
You're right. What we do. Facts.
Right.
How we fuck ourselves over because we believe, this is everybody's story. You watch these movies and you see these people in movies and you say, that could never be me. Mm-hmm. That could never be me. But baby, yet do you know that just one day it becomes you? Mm-hmm. You feel me? And yes, it took all them days.
Yeah.
It took me to hit rock bottom. That's why I said it is sad that we have to get to that place to wake up. But it did. It took me 6 years.
Okay, before we continue on, thank you for joining us, BronxNet. Thank you very much. So as you already know, our subject is wound mates and toxic relationships. Tune into the podcast to hear the rest of the conversation.
Yeah, y'all already know. What? I'm about to kill it, Fuck up.